Hello everyone, and welcome to another video on my channel. This is not really a review, more like a motorcycle diary, I guess. As you can see, we are on board of some sort of a GS Adventure from BMW, and this is a 1200 GS, not 1250. I had some problems with a 1250 engine, lots of problems with a BMW service and support. I've been thinking about what should I get. Experimented with KTM 1290R, that street bike, with not much luck, and now back to GS. I was thinking maybe as an option before getting this one to get a K1300S from BMW. I'm looking for maybe 2014-13 model year bike, right at the end of a production something, but had no luck with both searches, because to me the most important bit is low mileage when I buy a used motorcycle. And I was thinking again about how I'm gonna use it. And at least here in Lithuania we have so many speed cameras everywhere, average speed cameras outside of main cities as well. It's actually no fun to ride fast motorcycles in here anymore, the big brother is watching you, and yeah, not much for freedom at all. So really, only really good use for that bike would be on the German autobahns on the way from Lithuania to Alps or something. So also the roads, well, not all of them perfect. Vilnius is still kind of okay, but outside of the main cities again, you may sometimes find the paved roads which really in a bad shape, lots of all sorts of bumps. And so riding on those with K1300 wouldn't be as much pleasure as with a GS, because obvious differences in the suspension. So I kind of decided to go for some sort of a GS, and then I started to look around, and I found this motorcycle 2018 with only 5,700 kilometers on it, and right now it has 7,850, so about just a little bit over 2,000, which is what I added within 3 weeks. So on this one I've been to, well, I did one trip with my friend around just Lithuania, I guess, visiting some interesting places closer to the shore, and then we did another trip to Wolf's Lair, which used to be Hitler's and all the top Nazi command bunkers in Poland. So that trip was, the first trip was about 700 kilometers or so, second one was 650, this one to Poland. And even in Poland we've been trying to ride not on the motorways but like smaller roads like this. Some of them were quite bumpy, I would say. Again, on GS, no problem. Yeah, so that's the story of how I got this one, I guess, just to have fun again, because it looks like I'm addicted to motorcycles. It's part of my life. Not having a motorcycle, it's kind of depressing. I don't know why, what it is all about. These two wheels with an engine. For some reason this is something I almost like have physical addiction to. And now I'm happy. So this 1200 engine, especially the later production years, like 2015 and up, is alright in terms of reliability, proven. Could do easily like 100,000 kilometers, and this is what I really wanted, reliable motorcycle finally. So let's take a closer look at this one. So as you can see, pretty much, let me put it on a central stand. Here we go. So as you can see, pretty much standard 1200GS Adventure. So except for wheels. So these wheels, this is something I put in, because I had these, so I bought these cast aluminum ones for my 1250, just for the road use. So I had a plan when I had 1250 what I will use one set for the road only, long trips across Europe, and another set for off-road use. Because for this type of motorcycles, the main problem is how to balance how to balance off-road and on-road performance in terms of a grip. And so there is a kind of intermediate option which like Hayden K60s, but again they're not as good on the road as these tires and with Michelin Road 6. Also spoked wheels, we may get a little bit of a wobble and bend with the time. Oops. And the cast aluminums won't. So for road use I think this is better, so this is why I bought them back then, and now I put them in here on this bike. And because I don't have anyone to ride off-road with me at the moment, and I don't like off-road. To me it's not just unpaved roads. Off-road is like just going like where, for example, anywhere. Because for gravel roads and so on and so forth, these wheels are kind of fine. So those wheels which used to be here with the spokes, right now I have Aniki Wild tires on them, and we're sitting in a garage waiting for wear time. Swapping the wheels on the GS with RDS sensors requires you to actually program the new RDS sensors into the bike, so kind of teach your bike new wheels. And I have a software and a hardware to do so. So it takes about 30 minutes to replace wheels and let the bike know what it has new set, so RDS sensors would work, like always. Tire pressure information would work. So otherwise, as I said, quite just a GS Adventure. But this one had, so when I bought it, so it had all the three original panniers and a Navigator 6. Otherwise it was like a bone stock, but it had all the packages, so electronic suspension, hill start control, basically everything, like quick shifter, everything you can think of. Heated grips, all these light things, and daytime running lights. So it's fully furnished model or sample per se. And then I did some upgrades to it, and upgrades which I think make sense, and I did them to all my previous GSs, and this is the third one. So I had 1200 Adventure model year 2016, when in 2019 I got 1250 HP with a sport suspension, just a normal GS but with a suspension as on the Adventure bike, so longer travel. And when my left cylinder started to make weird noises, and well, don't have that bike anymore. Watch my previous videos for the whole story in there, sad story with my 1250. And so I got to 1200 specifically to avoid that problem with left cylinder noises, which many users of a 1250 have. So yeah, so upgrades. So I added again this headlight protector, and this has three purposes. So it stops like a small stones when you're riding on the motorways at a higher speed. Stones, little kind of really small ones which fly off from under the wheels of the cars in front of you, which makes like a small dents and scratches on the headlight, and with the time it kind of becomes matte. So that's the first purpose. Second purpose, of course, if you're riding on a gravel road, you may get a rock from a car or a motorcycle in front of you into a headlight, and it will be then damaged badly. And the third purpose is when you're riding for longer distances, you may get sometimes so many flies in this area that it's hard to see the headlight at night. And if you don't have any place to stop and wash with water, the headlight with water, and it's really hard to ride like that. So with this protection you can just remove it, put it in a pannier, and then you have a clean headlight which you can use for an hour, whatever time of riding you need to get to a destination at night. I did that once, I think, when I was during my trip to Monte Carlo, which was like a 1,300 kilometers. So I had to actually remove this to get the light back. So remove it with all the flies. Also, sometimes it's easier to just remove it and clean at some gas station, you know, in a sink, comparing to just use wet towels, which again may scratch the actual surface of a glass of a headlight. Doesn't matter. So next one, the protection for the dash. So this has an electronic dash, and the BMW put really nice anti-reflective coating on it, but that anti-reflective coating serves a good purpose as eliminating the reflections, but really badly, it's really soft, so it's really easy to scratch it. So if you have a dirt or sand or mud on your dash and you try to just wipe it off with your glove, there is a high chance that you're gonna scratch that coating. So this additional protection here is from Wunderlich, and it's really robust. So it's really hard to scratch. The problem with it, that it is reflective, and so in certain conditions, when the sun is shining straight behind you, you may get some problems reading the dash. You can still see the speed and tachometer, but the smaller information like chip computer and things like that, it's harder to read in those conditions. So I probably need to do some more research or try some different options for protection to find some, you know, less reflective, more transparent option, but this is what I have currently. Still better than nothing. Then another upgrade which I think is mandatory is specific protectors for the cylinder heads. Cylinder head covers. This BMW original part, it's made from steel, probably like 2 or something millimeter steel. So they are really robust, and they required if you're riding off-road or on a gravel road, for example. because on the pavement, when you drop a motorcycle, it will usually just hit this area and the cylinder will be intact. But on the gravel road, this will dig in and you may get a stone straight into your cylinder head cover, and you know, you have a crack or a hole and oil spills from there and your trip is over. So with these ones, it actually does work really well. I mean, it's really much harder to damage your cylinder head when falling into rocks like that. A mandatory upgrade. What you need to watch out for is what on a earlier GS Adventure models, like a 2016 for example, which I had, it had a little bit different angle in here and a different rubber as well. So I could not install those cylinder head covers because this bolt protrudes a little bit more and the hole is like a steel part as well. So on my 2016 I actually had to buy this protection from 2017 model, because as this 2018 as well, it has these specific cuts, you know, for a different angle, so you can actually mount those steel protectors together with those steel bars, no issues. So if you plan to buy an earlier model, 2017, you need to keep that in mind, that you may get into this problem, which would require you to change these crash bars as well to the earlier or some aftermarket ones. Sorry, to the later model or aftermarket ones. So the third upgrade, which I think makes sense, it's actually two of them in here. So one is extended mudguard, and another one is this subframe guard, whatever it's called. It's also made by Wunderlich, and what it is there for is to stop the spillage. So when the rear wheel is riding over like wet surfaces, it throws a lot of mist and water up, and a lot of it for some reason somehow gets straight into your ass, like your back area, through this, like this direction. And adding extended mudguard kind of reduced it by, I don't know, 80-90%. And I added this, but I didn't ride with this on a heavy rain yet. I tried them on a just wet pavement after the rain, and it was fine. I didn't get any water in here, but we shall see how it all works in a more, let's say, more wet conditions when I already tried. So hopefully it does, because having your ass dry is kind of a bonus, isn't it? Especially on adventure bike like this, because like a standard whatever BMW did in this area, design is not good at all. They also have these plastic protectors for frame, and these are really helpful when you're using your high motorcycle boots for off-road, because if you don't have this, then you're gonna scratch your frame, which is maybe not terrible but not desired. So what else? Yeah, I guess is main upgrades to the bike, just to, you know, get it into more usable everyday state. Just a note about the seat. So I always put the front of the seat into the highest position, rear in the lowest. So this is that's the only configuration when my back doesn't hurt. So if I put the front in the lower position and the seat angle is kind of down slope, and my back starts to hurt after about 300 kilometers in that configuration for some reason. I was thinking about Wunderlich comfort seats. Not sure if they worth it. Quite expensive. Watch some reviews. Reviews are good, but I'm not sure. Very expensive. Upgrade. It's sad that I cannot try one first before buying. But this seat is fine for about, well, what I did maximum on a seat like this was 1,300 kilometers. It was kind of alright. Oh, almost forgot the most important upgrade is this boxer oil cap. This adds about 500 horsepower to your engine immediately. I'm joking, that's just my sentimental thing. Completely useless, but well, just looks good. So these little bags in here, so again from BMW, I use them for like a small tools which may come handy, you know, when you're riding. You see, something like that. Nothing special really, not a mandatory thing. Yeah, so this is a bike. What do I think about it? Well, I like it a lot so far. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Extended kickstand pad, whatever it's called. This is when you park your motorcycle on a loose surface. Helps it not to dig in and flip to the side. I think also mandatory on a heavy bike like this, which may be used off-road. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. Well, I still think, which I mentioned probably in one of my previous videos, I still think that a standard GS, not a GS Adventure, is actually a better bike overall, because you don't really need a 30 liters tank, and this tank becomes a problem when it's completely filled in off-road. Too much weight in the front comparing to the standard GS. The suspension travel 2 centimeters difference. Well, riding mostly on road, a standard GS would be probably a bit sportier. It has a little bit less, well, it has less of a drag to the air, so at the higher speeds, 170 kilometers an hour and up, the standard GS would handle better on this one. Will consume less fuel on this one, but again, searching for a bike, I couldn't find a standard GS in the same great condition, so I got this one. Well, it has some bonuses, like from my trip to Poland at Wolf's Lair Hitler bunker, I fueled my bike in the beginning of a trip, and then I just fueled for the sake of doing it, because my friends stopped for fuel anyway in Lithuania, closer to the Polish border, and then that's it. So I finished the rest of the trip with just that fuel tank, and I still had about 120 kilometers to go on whatever fuel I had in the tank. So it has some kind of advantages, but really not big ones, not like there was no fuel stations in Poland or something like that. So not really that important. Yeah, that's a bike, I guess. Worth mentioning what, of course, because it's 2018 model year, so the Brembo brakes come standard, which is great, not a shitty haze. And again, you can watch one of my previous videos about me replacing the shitty haze with a good Brembos on my 1250. And another problem this bikes had was rusting shaft drive, and I also have a video even before BMW released a fix for that officially. I had a video where it was drilling the hole through the swing arm and installing something like this in there to allow for water to drain from this area of the swing arm housing. And now BMW did a fix to that. It's like a recall or something, but I can feel there is like a rubber thingy in there installed in the hole as well. So that hopefully solves the problem with rusting shaft drive as well. So good, I guess. So let's ride it a little bit more, and that I guess will conclude this diary record. So main question, am I happy with the purchase? Yes, I am. After having like 18 all sorts of things with 2 wheels and an engine in my life, and currently I'm 47 years old, my conclusion at the moment is that this is the best motorcycle of all I had. Not this specific one, but this model. R1200GS Adventure. 1250 has more power and more torque, and you can actually feel it, but reliability is really questionable, and to me reliability comes first. Right. In a difference of 11 horses, but one engine serves for 100,000 kilometers and another for 11, I choose the one which serves for 100. Again, to me, right now the conclusion is what if you buying a motorcycle and you're not buying it for sport, so it's not supermoto, it's not hard enduro or motocross bike, it's not a super sport machine, it is much better to choose motorcycle with a shaft drive frame, because it's much less of a headache. You don't need to worry about looping the chain, you don't need to worry about adjusting a chain, you don't need to worry about chain sliders. And I had experience, especially on adventure bikes. When I had the 1290 Super Adventure R, I destroyed the chain slider within 300 kilometers with just one trip on that KTM, because that trip involved quite a long run on the paved roads and then some sandy off-road, so chain was looped properly, so it got sand on top of that loop and became a chainsaw, and it did cut through the chain slider like a butter. And my nephew at the time had just a 1200GS, so when we came back he just washed his bike and put it in a garage, and that was the end of a trip for him. And for me, the trip continued with a visit to the local KTM dealer to get a chain slider, when waiting for some time not riding the bike before slider arrived, then removing the rear tire, removing the front engine sprocket, removing the chain slider, putting the new one in, assembling everything back together. It's just just not worth it. Like, why do I need to lose all that time on the maintenance, which is not really required if you have a shaft drive? And I'm not going for any high-end results in terms of lap times or anything like that. I'm just riding with. So, and on GS, except with shitty 1250, which may break, the maintenance is actually similar to the car maintenance. So you change brake fluid, right, or engine oil with a filter, final drive oil, and the coolant. That's all, at specific intervals. And that's all you need to do. No playing with a chain. Again, maybe this is annoying and you think, oh, chain is great. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's just why to have it, let's say, on a street bike? It doesn't do much in there in terms of benefits. Why have chain on a adventure bike, on a sport or a sport tourer? Why do you need to have that pain? Anyway, this is what I think. And again, looking at motorcycles as a package, GS is quite nice. It's maybe not the fastest, but as I said, you need to look at the whole thing, like including the maintenance, riding experience on all sorts of different surfaces. And then you suddenly realize that the concept of a GS kind of makes sense. And the implementation of a 1200 kind of does too. But 1250 not so. And if you kind of reading news, what is going on in the motorcycling industry at the moment, and this right now it's June 2023. It looks like BMW is about to present their new GS, which would be GS 1300 model, in September this year, 2023. There are some spy photos available, and it's really hard to tell what it is going to be. Is it going to be any good, or is it going to be a piece of shit? Because, well, BMW became kind of unpredictable in their designs and attempts to make everything cheaper to manufacture, maximize profits, I think. Are we going to put Brembo calipers on that thing? Are we going to use quality materials? Good engine design? No fuck ups in terms of motorcycle design? Because look at where S1000RR, right? It's not really good. And if you take in account what kind of, like, how good the S1000RR was back in the days when it just was released, let's say, especially the second iteration from 2012, it was really nice super sport, very powerful, and good electronic package as well. But if you look right now at the latest S1000RR, It's actually not that good. The geometry is bad. It's made with a lot of electronic toys, but the actual design of a motorcycle is kind of not right. You wonder like what we've been thinking, like how we end up with solutions like this. And that is sad. But we shall see. Usually with a BMW you can figure out is it good or not within first 2 years. So if within first 2 years, not reviewers but like a normal users like me have problems with it, can be tracked in the forums and on YouTube, and BMW not addressing them when it sucks. Good thing is a test drive. So one good thing about BMW here in Lithuania, in Vilnius, Crust Auto, what they have bikes for the test drive. So if a test drive available, then why not? I mean, God knows, maybe it's great. It will be great, you know. And when it would be time to change at some point, maybe within 2 years, so somewhere in 2027, let's say, sorry, 2025, or even better in 4 years, in 2027, then I guess all the problems will be fixed by then, and the bike would be great. But so far, well, this is the best GS, I think. The 1200, best available at the moment. 1250 is dangerous with potential left cylinder problems. Like thinking about the motorcycles, what would I buy again for myself from all the bikes I had? Which ones I liked? Come on, man, go. And I can think only about I can think about 3 motorcycles which I would buy again for various reasons, just because I don't know, I kind of liked them, for or had some emotional connection to, I guess. And starting from the bottom to the top, I guess, in terms of my rating of whatever that motorcycle is, I would go like this. So the first bike I would buy again, just for fun, would be R1200GS Roadster. I had that motorcycle when I was living in London, when I lived in London, and I liked it. It had no traction control. Only thing that you need to get that bike with ABS, that's mandatory, because otherwise you will be locking the front wheel a lot and falling under stressful situations. The brakes on that one are really strong, and without any ABS and without a front dive, because it has a tele-lever whatever suspension in the front, you need to either be a champion in braking using front and rear brake with right pressure in a stressful situation, or you just need to have one with ABS, and then you will be fine. So the colors of those Roadsters, 1150R Roadsters, they are kind of a green black, orange black, and white black. So I had the orange black and I liked it, and I would get again the orange black version. The good thing about that motorcycle that you can actually do everything with it really easily in terms of a service. Even valve adjustment is like freaking nothing. You just need one small hex wrench, and now it just range. I don't recall, was it by 8 or something? So everything is easy with that motorcycle, and this is fun. I mean, you can maintain it. If the world goes bananas, you can just do everything yourself on it without any additional freaking resources. Oh, maybe some seals would be required eventually, but otherwise it will just work. And you can service it easily, adjust valves and so on. And it's actually rides quite alright. As for a street bike, it has enough power, low center of gravity, it handles well. Oh, nice, interesting bike. And if you have that one, get one with well, if you're going to get R1200GS Roadster for some reason, get the one with a low seat option, because with a high seat option, even for me, and I'm 6 feet tall, the seat is a bit on the high side, I think. With a low seat option, it looks better and it just more usable, I think. And you can transform that bike into a weird off-roader, like, how do we call them now? This kind of a street bikes with a longer suspension and the off-road wheels. A scrambler, yeah. You can convert it into real scrambler by replacing a front and rear suspension, just putting rear shock and the front shock and the forks from the R1200GS. It's quite interesting, but it's possible. Yeah. So the second motorcycle I would get again would be BMW S1000RR, model year 2012 to 2014. So right before the newer model where we swapped the small and the large headlights backwards. So I had both. I had this 1000RR model year 2012 and I had this 1000RR model year 2018. And all things considered, for some reason I liked the model year 2012 better, even though it had no bleeper, just a quick shifter, but it was just more fun. I think on a 2018 model, whatever, starting from 2015, they fucked up the front geometry of that bike, they fucked up the frame, and so the forks angle became too steep, and all of that basically just sucked. In 2012, if you just add some few upgrades to it, does work very nicely for me. Again, for me. And the last motorcycle, well, not the last, but the best motorcycle I would get again is the one I have right now, R1200GS. Oops. Because it has a shaft drive, because it is easy to maintain, reliable, just a good motorcycle to have. Lots of fun, I guess. And maybe because I'm 47 years old as well, this seems to be a great option. Alright, so this is a bike. Last seconds of this video diary. So thanks a lot for watching, if you managed to stay till the end of all of this nonsense. And have a great day. Bye. Oh, button.